So happy today to be. Oh, thanks, Alexis. We're so happy today to be joined by Professor Laura Castro-Diaz from University of Massachusetts, Boston. Laura is an assistant professor at the School for the Environment at the University of Massachusetts, Boston. As a sustainability scholar, she engages in community-based research to tackle some of society's most pressing challenges. She uses various collaborative frameworks and methods to examine the impacts of and responses to water and energy injustices across different scales, from individuals and local communities to the global stage. Currently, she is working on projects aimed at reducing the water gap in high-income countries and co-designing nature-based solutions that address the specific needs of local communities. Please join me in welcoming Laura, and we look forward to your presentation.
Thank you, Joe. Hi, everyone. It's very nice to be here. So, I'm gonna have a presentation, but before we start, because I like that we are like a small team, I want to ask like some questions. So, let me just bring this here and share my screen where's the Zoom? We prepared this in advance, and now it's not here. So I can see you all. So I would like to ask you this question. You can raise your hand, you can be virtually, but it's like, will you like to know if a project, policy, or activity will affect your life, home, family, or region? You can raise your hand if you say yes, if you would like to know this. Okay, good. Yeah, me too. If something is like they're building something in my street, I would like to know. I would love to know that. My second question is, would you like to have a say in projects that may impact your life? Yes? Raise your hand. Yeah, exactly. I want to know that. I want to know like whatever they are doing, like in my surroundings, in my country, in my city, where I work. I want to know that. And my third question is like, do you know your home inside and out even more so than a visitor? Yes? Of course, I know my home perfectly. I know where all my kitchen utensils are. I know where I keep my shoes. I know where I have like that drawer where I have all of the mess things that I don't know where to put in my house that a visitor doesn't see. I have knowledge of where I live. And that's like how I want to start like this presentation today is like this is a way for us to see how we need to include local people in our research. They know where they live. They understand the environment much better than us. They know where are the messes. They know where are the issues. They know maybe some solutions to include in the projects that we can do. And it could be a research project, it could be an infrastructure, it could be a policy, whatever we want to include. So today I want to talk to you about advancing justice and resilience and implementing nature-based approaches through participatory convergence. So we all know that we are at this point in society that we have grand challenges. And these can include flooding, heat waves, droughts, erosion, like displacement of human populations. And all of these grand challenges are complex and uncertain and are also interconnected. These challenges will impact us in different ways. Depending where you live, depending who you are, depending what's your livelihood, you will be impacted differently. Even if we live in the same household, maybe a heat wave will impact someone that is elder or someone that has maybe a health issue more than two other members in their households. So we need to find equitable solutions that are tailored to community needs. And these need to be like, okay, what is happening in the local level? Of course, understanding what is happening at the global scale. Everything is connected, but we cannot have like a solution. A solution is not going to be like magic and it's going to help everyone around the globe. We need to go and see what is happening at the local level and connecting it with the global sphere. We need to design equitable solutions that are tailored to communities' needs, and we need to engage with people and with local communities. So we need to provide clear information and include them in processes of decision making. And that's something that I'm going to be talking through my presentation, is how we can include local communities in processes of decision making in research and policy and other spheres. Usually, what happens, and unfortunately, when we have a challenge, the solutions are conventional solutions. And when I'm talking about conventional solutions, are those that are used like a band-aid. So there's like defending, they accommodate or retreat. Oh, flooding, people, you need to move. And those can be short-term solutions. These short-term solutions or conventional approaches are perpetuating social inequities and are leaving those who are the most vulnerable at risks. And that's what I highlight this again. We need long-term solutions to adapt to changing conditions tailored to communities' needs. So to give you an example of a conventional solution, and this is something that I have studied widely, is the construction of large-scale infrastructure, such as the construction of hydroelectric dams. These are built or are continued to be built. There's a boom of construction in the global south and emerging economies because dams are presented as this way to generate electricity, clean energy, and quote unquote, look at this, to communities that need electricity. However, as we can see here in this picture, when a large scale infrastructure is built in the context, well, in this case, dams, they're changing all of the geomorphology of this river or this area, which is generating other impacts that we might not see, such as the resettlement of human populations, loss of biodiversity. It also will disrupt people's livelihoods. And what happens is that these infrastructures are built in a top down decision making approach. So, when I'm talking about this, is that when I'm talking about top down decision making approach, usually are those people or those sectors or those fields who are in power, usually the ones that decide where, how, when we are going to build infrastructure. And for example, here, the case of dams. So those folks who live nearby dams, they don't have a say about these infrastructures. And we have found in the literature, and I have conducted research showing that dams are not generating any benefits to folks who live nearby this big infrastructure. So imagine you living in a beautiful river, and they build this big infrastructure, and you're not even getting the electricity from this dam. So these are the types of conventional solutions that we have. Now we are seeing, and it's something that is not new, but it's something that many of you are familiar here and are like the nature-based approaches or nature-based solutions that can be different than these like regular engineering or like hydroelectric dams or like building bridges without considering nature approaches, or this is also called engineering with nature. I'm bringing this definition just to have like a common knowledge and understanding about among us, and it's like these nature-based approaches and aim to protect, conserve, and restore different ecosystems to address social, economic, and environmental challenges effectively and adaptively, providing human well-being and ecosystem services, resilience, and biodiversity benefits. That's how I understand nature-based solutions, and that's how I'm framing my research and my projects. Nature-based approaches, you know them. There are many examples, and here are just like some of those that we can see. There are many more, and it could be like marshes, it could be like some wetlands, it could be like urban farming, etc. So when we're seeing these approaches, we can see that they can generate some beautiful and amazing benefits. And each of these nature-based solutions will generate different benefits. For example, in the case of open green spaces, we can see that they can increase human health or biodiversity. It can also create spaces for people to have like social interaction, which I think that is fantastic. Like these benefits, many other nature-based solutions have like amazing results for humans, the environment, today, and also for the future. What is happening is that nature-based solutions also have some issues. And these issues are mainly based like from the literature, because the scientific emphasis, or the things that we know, is that is tend to prioritize on the physical, economic, and design sciences, which is overlooking and overshadowing social sciences. What happens when we don't include social sciences in this type of research or in this type of infrastructure? We can commit the same mistakes as we did with great infrastructure. Making the same mistakes will imply that we are overlooking aspects of social equity and justice during the design, during governance and implementation of these approaches. What is happening now is that most of the benefits of these approaches are emphasized, which are fantastic. But if we only focus on this, we are overlooking the trade offs and other unintended consequences of nature based approaches. That's what I say, like that the implementation of equitable and just nature-based approaches demands innovative and systemic approaches to engage with local communities, practitioners, and researchers from different disciplines, considering social dimensions. And this is how I'm bringing one approach that I've been working with some colleagues that I call participatory convergence. This is a great approach and a framework that allow us to work with community partners, local communities, scholars from different disciplines to work together and solve challenges. And those challenges that we talked at the beginning, like flooding, erosion, like sea level rise, etc. Participatory convergence brings together two main frameworks. One is convergence research and participatory action research. Convergence research is an approach that aims to address complex challenges, the ones that we're facing nowadays. And it calls for the integration of disciplines. It's problem based, so it's looking for real solutions. And this started to come out, and amazing work has come from nanotechnology, and then NSF, like Convergence, like Pillar, has been funding like amazing research. The second approach is participatory action research that call us to work with people to drive social transformation and engage or call us to be like create partnerships to create actions and solutions that are significant for those that need these solutions, and call us to have some moments of reflection and be like, what we are doing is working. If it's not working, what we can do and what we can change that is going to help us solving the issue that we're all working on. So the first dimension of this framework is called a problem base. So what we are doing is research that is driving by a specific problem. So with convergence research, we are doing and working in the most urgent social problems. And this can be different depending on where you are. And again, depending where you live, the social problem can be different. So I brought an example of this map that many of you are familiar with. So the Boston Harbor. And when we start on all of this area and we look at this, if we think about maybe which are the environmental and social issues that are happening in South Boston, they will be very different than when we go to East Boston and ask the communities over there. Or the same will happen if we go to some of the islands that are here. So that's what we get together with different folks, those who live there from different disciplines, and we are trying to understand, okay, what are the issues that are happening in this specific area and how we can solve this with all of the expertise that is in this fantastic group. The second aspect is related with what I was talking about, the deep integration of disciplines. So we built a team in which researchers with local residents and community partners get together and share a common understanding of what's the issue, what's the main thing that we want to fix, and we all bring our expertises. And we're talking about scholars, and it could be from different disciplines, and I'm not being like, this is not comprehensive, but there are like lots of different experts that can be working, solving different issues and participating in creating nature-based approaches or like doing research that is meaningful for local communities. When we are bringing different disciplines, and when we bring social sciences to the table, there are different approach that can help us moving forward our projects, and that can sustain this project a longer time, that can help us to these projects to be resilient too. So one of these approaches is the social justice or environmental justice framework, and I'm bringing it to the table because this is a way that allows us to see three different parts that are like important to the projects that I'm working on. The first one is the distributional aspect. So when we see distributional justice, we can see like if there's like fair allocation of resources, the benefits, and also of the needs, of the risks. So who is benefit, who is not benefiting from like the project that we are doing, who like really is interested about like being part of this project, who is not, aspects of procedural or participatory justice. So, creating fair participation in decision making and fair information access. And I'm going to expand in this section later. And aspects of recognition. So, it's also allow us to bring folks to the table who have usually not been included in processes of decision making, respecting the social norms, their cultural knowledge, and their social institutions. There are other frameworks of social sciences that can help us, like, for example, see the benefits of different nature based approaches and see before we make like maybe the same mistakes of great infrastructure, such as this is the case of ecosystem services. And this is just like some examples that I brought from the literature that we can see is like, okay, maybe when we have like these nature-based solutions, we can enhance these cultural services or giving like some regulating services like water purification, among others. But we might be on risk and also have like some disservices, as this is called, like which impacts, it could be like psychological impacts this new infrastructure can generate that maybe we overlooked because we didn't consider social sciences into the table. The third dimension of this approach is called partnership and participation, or just or and participation. So it's like it calls us to work with people and non on people. That's some of the things that traditional some research has done. And so this is focusing on the quality of relationships with residents and other stakeholders. And the degree of stakeholders and their involvement and participation can fluctuate, can vary depending on the step of the research that we are all doing. So I'm gonna talk a little bit of why is participation important, and there are many reasons, and I'm just bringing here to you like a couple of those of what I think that participation is important. First, it's a powerful tool to build strong and inclusive democratic processes. We're including folks who are usually not included. It creates high levels of engagement, enable redistribution of power and reduce inequalities. It creates higher levels of trust. We know that we're in times when which like there is not trust in science. And why? Folks are right. Like sometimes we scientists, we don't communicate with the general public of what we are doing. Or we communicate in terms that are really technical that sometimes not even ourselves can understand. So when we include folks into the table that they don't speak the same language, and I mean in terms of our fields, that help us like creating like bonds of trust and high levels of trust. Citizens who are usually not included can raise their concerns and participate in processes of decision making. And community engagement and participation is key in creating just and sustainable futures in the context of climate change adaptation. This has been shown in the literature. There are different approaches that can help us doing participation in our research, and that's one of the ones that I'm showing, the participatory convergence one. But there are many others, and I just bring here this list is not comprehensive, and this is not the only way that you can include local people in your research or in your projects, but these are some of examples. And my main goal here is that you know that there are more things beyond citizen science, my friends. So there are other things that we can do, like participatory convergence, feminist methodologies, community-based participatory research, to include, engage in real ways community members in our processes. At the same time, there are different methods, and these are some qualitative methods that we can include. These are some of the ones that I have used in my research, but you can include other types of methods, like, for example, surveys is not here, but you can include, like, I have here participatory mapping, visioning workshops, how individuals who live in areas where nature-based approaches are going to be done, envision this area to be, how they see themselves interacting with the environment, how we can do as researcher be able to include their knowledge into whatever designs we're doing. So these are some tools that allow us to increase the participation of local peoples and bring their local knowledge to the table and use it in real and meaningful way. And I talk about including them in real and meaningful well because there are different branches or different levels of participation. And maybe some of you are familiar with the ladder of participation. I like this graph from Vogt and Yates because it allows us to see that participation fluctuates. And it depends on the individuals, but it depends on the time of your research or the project that you are doing. And it could be from the lowest level of participation, that is to inform people. So inform people is that you just arrive and you're like, hello, we're going to do this project. That's it. Then the next level is consultation. So, for example, you do some surveys because you want to learn something, but that's like just, you see, it's just one direction. There's like not conversation among the parts. Then the third level is involving local communities. So, working with them, maybe making some little decisions about the projects. Then it's collaborating. So, it's just like when you are really sitting with them in the table, maybe drafting the research questions, what you can do together. And empowering is like when community leads research decision making. And I have been lucky enough to participate in some of those projects when communities like, this is what we need, this is what we want to solve, and we want you to help us. And I think that, well, that's like also a fantastic way to do it. I bring this to the table not only to tell you that there are different levels of participation, but also to show you that you can have meaningful participation at different stages of your research. And we need to be cautious. One of my colleagues, Oswaldo Medina Ramirez, he works with an approach, or he has been studying how there is unfortunately an effect that is participation fatigue. And what is showing is that sometimes like people are tired of researchers or some politicians going and asking questions and nothing is happening. We need to do participation, but in a meaningful way. We cannot go every year and ask the same folks the same questions that they have been asked before. We need to do better, and that's in our side. We need to do the research in advance to know, okay, they have studied this, and that. You can go and check what people think about those results, but you cannot be asking the same questions that these folks have been asking all the time. So we need to do better. The other aspect that is important when we do this type of research is reflexivity. And this is like the ability of the team to locate themselves as agents of change. So to be self-aware and aspects of, for example, reflect on our power dynamics. It's not the same to be a professor at a university doing this type of research than being a community member in certain location, or to be a decision maker in person, or to be a citizen, or to be a person of color. Of there are different levels of power that we need to be aware of, and we consider this aspect is not only about our positionality, but it's also about the project. So when we are doing an intervention, when we talk to, and when I call the reflexivity, is just be like, okay, for example, we designed a park, we did a workshop. What that what did work in the workshop? what did not work, what we are going to do better so we don't say make the same mistakes. And this could be, for example, when we are installing a nature-based solution. For example, we can go and be like, we did this in the past. We go and ask people, and it's like, okay, we installed this nature-based solution here. What people think about it? Let's reflect about what we did that worked. Let's reflect on what we can do better in the future. For example, to involve local communities in the processes of installation, or that they can learn better about, like these nature-based approaches. So this is again like a cycle to reevaluate and work our work and the activities. So you can do it in different ways. It could be like meetings, or it can be getting feedback from community members and other approaches. And last but not least is like the solutions to the problems that needs to be tailored to the communities. They need to be meaningful, and they need to be significant, and of course sustainable. So they need to be at different scales, and they need to be permanent solutions. So this is what I bringing out, like with this approach and many other approaches, but this is the one that I bring here together, like for you today, is like how we can work with community partners, local communities, and scholars from different disciplines to solve current social challenges. So I have three major final remarks for today. The first one is that participatory convergence help us breaking down disciplinarity boundaries. It helps us prioritizing systems thinking, solution-focused strategies, and meaningful community engagement. It also fosters collaboration among residents, stakeholders, and researchers from different fields and stages of their education, because we can bring here like people who are like undergrads, grad students, but also we can bring like high schoolers, etc. Participatory convergence has also demonstrated its effectiveness in addressing pressing grand challenges, including water insecurity, energy injustice, and disaster resilience through tailored and equitable solutions. So I have like, I'm working in this, well, we submitted this paper in which like we are showing how this framework has worked for these different topics, and these have been projects that have been at the national and international level. And the approach that I have presented here will allow us to understand the benefits and potential issues of nature-based solutions that other approaches do not consider. What this is doing is that it might enable us to mitigate the downsides, or maybe the negative aspects of nature-based solutions, by including some social aspects into the conversation. And this is all for me. Thank you.
Well, Laura, I want to say thank you again. We are so fortunate to be able to work and collaborate with you here at the Stone Living Lab, and appreciate you joining the seminar to present today. And I'm going to hand it over to Alexis, who I think is going to share a slide previewing our seminar speakers for February. Is that right, Alexis?
Yes.
Thank you.
Sorry, did you want me to?
Yeah, sure. If you want to just share who'll be joining us in February and then close us out, that would be great.
Yeah, so thank you, Laura. Thank you everyone for joining us today. On February 19th, our seminar series is going to feature Christian Merfeld and Ford Fishman, who both worked on Boston Harbor Now's waterfront visitation and equity study. So if you scan the QR code on the screen, that'll bring you to the event and provide additional details, and we hope to see you all there. And yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Thank you all. Thanks, Alexis. Thanks all.